Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Catherine and this is Raspberry Reads. I have a tag video for you today and this is the time and place tag, and it was created by Carl at Please Read Your Book or Books. And thank you to Mary Andrea Belmont for tagging me at Books and Bocalitos, I think her channel name is. So the first prompt is a book that reminds you of your past. And the book that I wanted to share with you is Land of Sweet Surprises, and this is by Ernest Meester. And so this was the first revolving picture book that was published in 1892. This is a reproduction of that book, and inside you've got revolving pictures. This is from my childhood, so I think it's quite stiff, so I'm not going to try because I don't want to break it, but yes, they all revolve. Oh, here's one with a, there you go, see, you can see that it revolves like that. But yeah, so this book reminds me of my past because it's from my grandma and my opa, and my grandma used to and still does makes porcelain dolls, and so this very much reminds me of her sort of vibe, likes a lot of sort of these antique style things and anything doll-like. So yes, this book holds a lot of special memories for me, and it reminds me of my past, and particularly growing up on my grandmother's farm, which was a sheep farm. The second prompt is a book that is set in a place you would like to visit but haven't yet been there. And I would, Wilbur, stop. I would love to get to Japan. Both Lucy and I have Japan at the very top of our bucket list, and we will make it there someday. But until then, I've read a few books set in Japan, and actually the one that I'm reading right now, called Butter by Asako Yuzuki, is set in Japan. That's about a journalist who is interested in understanding a female serial killer who's also a chef or like a gourmet foodie type person. But yeah, so let's go with that book for Japan. If you're wondering why my arm is tucked behind me, it's because tiny Wilbur is here and I'm trying to keep him from scratching and causing noise. The next book is, the next prompt is a book that is set in a foreign country that you admire. That's a really tricky prompt because I wouldn't say that I admire any country in its entirety, but there are aspects of certain countries that I admire. So I picked two countries for this. The first is New Zealand. I really admire their landscape, and I admire some of their politics and attention to environmental conservation. And I also admire the work that they do in terms of their indigenous population and respecting those peoples and traditions. Yeah, do you agree too? Yeah. And so a book for that one, which I'd really like to get to, is Birnam Wood by Eleanor Cotton. That book has been on my TBR for quite a while, and it's about so like a guerrilla tree planting, or guerrilla gardeners, I think. So sort of a sustainability element. Yes, I really hope to get to that book soon. Otherwise, the second country that I admire, and again for its landscape, but also maybe for its sort of social ethos, political ethos, is Norway. And for Norway, I haven't read that many things set in Norway, but I have read Sophie's World by Jostein Gardner, I think the name is. I don't remember much about that book. I read it for a high school philosophy class. It's basically Sophie ends up having all these discussions with various philosophers throughout history. It wasn't my cup of tea, but it's a very well-known book, and it was set in Norway. The next prompt is to pick a book that's set in the city, town, or region in which you live. I'm very fortunate to live in Oxford in the UK, and you know, this is a very historic city, and lots of books have been set in Oxford. One notable example being Philip Pullman's his Dark Materials series. But otherwise, two books that I have read, because I haven't read all of his Dark Materials in their entirety, but two other books are Deborah Harkness's A Discovery of Witches. So that is about a woman who goes and does research in the Bodleian Library about her family's past. Her family's based in Salem, I believe, in the States. And then she uncovers sort of this magical past, and yeah, I won't say much more than that, but yes, that's set in Oxford. And otherwise, a long time ago, I read an instance of The Finger Post by Ian Pierce, and I don't remember too much about it other than it was, I think, set in the 17th century. Yeah, I think it was in the 1600s, like Civil War period, English Civil War. And it had to do with a murder or a trial. Yeah, it was a chunky book, and I do remember enjoying it, but I don't remember much about it. But anyways, it was partially set in Oxford. The next prompt is a book that is set in the future that you think will be realistic. So I have two books, although one of them I'm not so sure about the future element of it, and that one is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. So I have read this, and it's one of my favorite books, but I don't think it actually gives a time period in which it's set. Yeah, pretty sure it doesn't have a time period associated with it. It was published in 2014, and it is about a virus, a pandemic. Obviously, we've been through that, and it certainly could happen again. So I would say that this book is fairly realistic on what the future could hold. And then otherwise, the other book that I thought of was Migrations by Charlotte McConaughey. And I've mentioned that book on my channel before, and that's about the Arctic tern species of birds that are dying out. And so that book is loosely set in the future, but looks at species decline due to climate change. So again, that is a fairly realistic view of our future, unfortunately. Yeah, so those are all the prompts for this tag. It was a fairly straightforward one. Thank you again to Mary Andrea Belmont for tagging me. And that just leaves me to tag a few people. So I tag Tristan at L-Space-Books. I tag Chantal at Chantal's Shelf Life, and Deea at Novel Idea. I think all three of these individuals could provide a very interesting perspective to this time and place tag, and I look forward to watching their videos if they choose to do it. And as always, if I haven't tagged you and you'd like to do this time and place tag, please feel free to do so. And that just leaves me to say that I hope you're doing really well and having a great day, and I'll see you soon in a new video. Take care. Bye.